On this planet, water is one of the most essential substances there is. It is absolutely necessary for anything that exists on this planet. People are unable to go for extended periods of time without water. If individuals did not drink water, the most of them would pass away within a few days at the most. Nevertheless, there are some people who have managed to survive for a significantly longer period of time. The Austrian Andres Mihavets holds the record for the greatest period of time that a person has survived without food or water, which is 18 days according to the Guinness World Records. For both the regulation of our core temperature and the preservation of the viability of our cells, the human body has a significant hydration requirement. Having said that, it is estimated that a human can go around 3 days without drinking water before dying. Water is essential in many ways besides just for us. It is essential for the well-being of all living things, including plants, animals, and the environment, as well as the entirety of our planet. Water is essential to the survival of all living things, from the tiniest cyanobacteria to the largest blue whales. Without water, there would be no such thing as life as we know it. That much is certain. Because the answer to the question posed at the beginning of this essay is so straightforward that no living organism could exist in the absence of water. This may very well be the final sentence of this piece. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's investigate more to find out what would happen to other things on Earth and who could have the best chance of surviving the longest. To begin with the second question, who would survive for the longest amount of time? The first thing that comes to mind is desert creatures. They are subjected to temperatures that can reach searing levels for extended stretches of time. Deserts receive very little rainfall, thus animals that live in deserts acquire their water from food sources when water holes and natural rainfall are limited. Animals that live in desert environments have developed specialized adaptations that enable them to endure the intense heat. Their bodies have the ability to store water and then absorb it naturally whenever it is required. Kangaroo rat would undoubtedly come out on top in this race without water as one of the victorious animals. He is adapted to the arid conditions of the desert and does not require any form of hydration during his life. He, or she, has highly specialized kidneys that contain additional tubules. These tubules assist him, or her, in the extraction of water from urine, which helps him, or her, conserve water in the body. That is certainly an intriguing metabolic rate. However, there are a lot of other interesting things to know about kangaroo rats. They maintain their hydration levels through the consumption of seeds. Having said that, one may make the assumption that they have an extremely limited lifespan, one that can be measured in days, which means that it is not really remarkable. But you couldn't be more wrong about it. The average lifespan of a kangaroo rat is between 3 and 5 years. You did read that sentence correctly. They were able to go up to 5 years without taking even one sip of water during that time. Undoubtedly an intriguing creature, especially when viewed in light of the contents of this post. Then there are the frogs that can live in water. Their name reveals a great deal about who they are. The skin of the frog has the remarkable ability to take in considerable volumes of water, which are then stored in the frog's bladder as well as the tissues of its body. After the frog has dug itself a hole in the ground, it wraps itself in a cocoon made of its own skin so that it does not lose any of its water. The frog can maintain this position for a number of years while it consumes its own skin and continues to feed while in this state. Technically, all of these species need water to survive. The difference is that they can go for very long periods of time without actually drinking it. Consequently, even if there was a sudden lack of water, those odd frogs could survive for a number of years. That is, of course, presuming that there would be life on Earth in the absence of water. But later on in this piece, we'll go into more depth on the problems facing our world. What about more microscopic species, like bacteria or viruses, for example? If we look up the article that was published by NCBI, we find that it states, in the air-dried state, some bacteria survive only for seconds, while others can tolerate desiccation for thousands, perhaps millions of years. Additionally, if we take a look at the Wyss Institute for Virology and Immunology at Harvard University, we can see that bacterial spores can withstand high dehydration. Dehydration is the leading cause of death across a wide range of creatures. The loss of water might result in very high pressures that even the strongest materials might not be able to endure, which can lead to irreparable damage to the structure. The amazing exception to this rule is bacterial spores. They are able to withstand extended durations of dehydration without showing any signs of damage in the process. The Wyss Institute for Biologically Inspired Engineering's latest findings shed light on an amazing survival mechanism. That is definitely something worth looking into. It would appear that tiny species are considerably better able to survive without water than larger organisms, such as ourselves or any other larger organism. But what about the organism that is the largest? Our globe, or should we say our Earth? If there wasn't any water on the world, what would happen to it? When we get to this point, we enter more difficult area because it is difficult to anticipate what will actually take place. I'm trying to say that we have a very good idea of what will take place with us if we don't drink any water. Just give it a shot. In point of fact, kindly don't. Whether you want to test whether there are any positive effects on your health, try a dry fast, but don't go as far as the water-holding frog. It should go without stating that. Now let's circle back to the primary organism, which is our planet. Would it be destroyed, explode, or disappear into the abyss? Almost certainly not. Planet in its current form would continue to exist. That is to say, it would still be at the same place. However, in a very other way. We came to the conclusion that even the hardiest of animals would perish in the absence of water. Everything would go the same way with every plant. That means there is no vegetation at all. If this were to happen, our globe would no longer be green or blue. As was previously indicated, there would be no lakes, rivers, or oceans, and there also wouldn't be any grass or other plants of any type. This will lead to shifts in the composition of our atmosphere. Take just one illustration, shall we? During the process of photosynthesis, it is common knowledge that plants draw carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O, from the surrounding air and soil. Within the plant cell, water undergoes oxidation, which results in the loss of electrons, whereas carbon dioxide undergoes reduction, which results in the accumulation of electrons. The water is converted into oxygen and the carbon dioxide into glucose as a result of this process. The plant then sends the oxygen back into the atmosphere and stores the energy in the molecules of glucose that it has produced. That would result in there being insufficient oxygen on Earth, which would, once more, contribute to the extinction of all life on the planet. To summarize, without water, certain creatures could live for years, while others could only survive for hours, and humans would probably only survive for a couple of days at most. Plants would live for a longer period of time, but ultimately they would perish quite quickly. Certain bacteria organisms might live for a slightly longer period of time. However, in the end, everything would be destroyed, except the planet itself. Planet would still be around, but it would appear quite different from how it does now. It would have a drab and brownish appearance. But hey, that's why we have Elon and some other folks working on getting us off of this planet to save humanity. We will have to wait and see if that will work anytime soon, or at any time for that matter. Nevertheless, bearing in mind everything that was discussed in this essay, I believe that we are all in agreement with how much we ought to value the fact that we have access to water. Especially in Western countries and among Western people, where water is readily available on demand, while there is still a significant portion of the world's population that does not have access to readily available and clean water. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.